You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back for a special edition episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, I'm recording this at my hotel at the Biltmore Millennium Hotel in Los Angeles, California. It is late. I just got back from the Grammys after parties that I went to. More about that in this special edition episode, but we're talking all about the Grammys. So this is the special edition episode. I will be doing my next episode, the more formal episode, probably in a day, like within like the next day. So if you're listening to this now, the next episode will be the next day. So you're getting a lot of content from me this week because also we're doing the live podcast recording of the Lit Brothers Live at Hard Rock Cafe. So that's happening later. But I know everybody's been following my weekend. And I didn't want to do a general episode where this would have been the long, like I would have had a whole, hour or whatever talking about the Grammys and not talking about the hot topics. So I'm putting all of my thoughts about the Grammys, my experience, my weekend, everything in this episode. It's a special edition. I haven't done enough of these in a minute, but this just really felt like perfect. And I'm also not in Philadelphia recording this, but by the time people are listening to it, if you're a super fan, I will be on a flight. I'll be on a flight back to Philly, and I'll be sleeping on the flight, and getting back home. But I'm here as always. Last year, if you all remember, it was an interesting time because I went viral for some interesting experiences reacting to the album of the year win or loss of Beyonce. This year proves to be no different, even though my thoughts are a lot more refined and my reaction a lot more refined. But I think everyone is feeling a certain type of way about these Grammy results. But before I get into that aspect, I'm going to talk about, my whole weekend. So I got in on Thursday, as you all know, got into the hotel. Really love this hotel. I was here last year. The Biltmore Millennium Hotel in downtown LA, is an iconic hotel. A lot of music videos have been made here. A lot of historic moments, famous movie scenes, all kind of things have happened here. Delicate, which is the Taylor Swift music video, was filmed here. Britney Spears' video, I think it was Boys, the Boys video. Was it Boys? I think it was Boys. Was also filmed here as well. Cruel Intentions, other films, I'm thinking. An episode of Mad Men, I think, was filmed here. But it's an iconic hotel. And so I love being here. It's a great space. It's a lovely space. It's always fabulous. So I hit the ground running immediately. Like the moment I got here, there was like no rest. There was no breaks. Everything was go, 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 go. I definitely did some cool fashion choices, as you all saw. I really let loose, like in a very good way. I mean, I loved just doing it different this year. So this year, I wanted to be flashy, but I wanted to also have a little bit of a Hollywood, look that I couldn't necessarily do in Philly because one, the weather, but two, also Philly energy is very different. And there's no shade to Philly, but just fashion wise, I was like, what would it, I've always wanted to do certain looks. And one idea I wanted was, I was like, what does it look like if I go out in these really like nice fitted blazers, but these blazers are so nice and so decked out that I just feel like wearing a shirt under it would just kind of, I don't know, cheapen it or just not make it look the same. I just was like, I want to wear this without a shirt because I've seen people do it. And I always felt like I have a nice, like I don't have a hairy chest. I have a very, nice, smooth, chest that's well toned. What I mean by toned is like my skin complexion on my face matches that of my chest. There's no discoloration. And so I said, well, look good. And I was looking at it and I was like, I can do this. And I wanted to take a risk. I wanted to take that was like my little fashion risk. And I wanted to make it a trend. Like I had a theme throughout all the outfits I wore. It was gonna be, dazzles and prints. I was even doing some really nice prints or paisley looks, or I was giving you all sequins and in the glam. Really nice, loafers because I'm a loafer lady. I love a good loafer and or a loafer lad, I would say. But I love a good loafer. And if I was gonna do all of that on the top and I was gonna do all on the bottom, I definitely had to keep it decent, no pun intended, in the middle. So I always wore black slack pants. That was like my style because I always feel like anything with fashion, you just cannot, everything can't be wild. Like I can't do a wild blazer. I can't do a wild pants. I can't do shoe. You gotta mix and match. And also too, I did not want to do these like 2-piece sets where the blazer and the pants match because I feel like it cheapens the look. So I would always just really focus on the blazers and not try to have matching pants and do that because I just always felt like that just felt too much, if that makes sense. So I knew my body, I knew my look, my style, my aesthetic I was going for. So I had some really great times. I went to some really great parties. Thursday, I went to the first kickoff event I went to was a women in music event for hip hop. And it was a really nice, like, star-studded event, with one of my good friends, John Pierre, who is a member of the Recording Academy. And shout out to John, of course, because, that's how I have had, many, just understanding LA because he's bi-coastal. So he lives in LA. He also lives in Philly. And so anytime I was coming to LA, especially for the Grammys, I was always like, look, the spots, let's make it happen. And so he definitely was a major plug in helping, let me know the scene and let me know what's real and what's not. But the Women in Hip Hop event was a really cool event. They had this really great, it was a hip hop museum, which was like in LA, which is gorgeous. I mean, just incredible artwork, just incredible artifacts, like just a really incredible celebration of 50 years of hip hop. So that was dope. After that, there was an event called Queered, which was like this LGBTQ, like a black queer event that was honoring some people. And it was like a mix. There was another spot and I think it was in West Hollywood. And we went to that party and awards, like a nice little evening event, like a pre-Grammy party type of vibe. And it was dope. It was so dope. I met so many like black queer creators and artists that I've recognized on social media, but never seen in person. And it was like almost like a gathering of sorts, like a cookout. And it was so just awesome. Very, very, very touching. And, they were honoring Lena Waithe, who was not there to accept her award, thank goodness, because y'all know I can't stand Lena Waithe. But she was honored. There was a couple other producers and other great people who were recognized, who did show up in person. And they were great. So that made it all worth it. But afterwards, there was another party that was happening across the street. And that was when things got really interesting. So this party was like, I don't even know, like there wasn't even a list. It was just, was there a list? Like it wasn't even a list. It was just a party. And everybody and mother was there. And it was a packed party. Like they had some stars up in there. I saw Mac Wilds. Mac Wilds was there. Oh, Durand, who I love Durand. He was there. There was some other artists. But while I was there, I ran into Lil Nas X. Lil Nas X was in the building. And the way that I gagged, I was like, wait 1 minute. This cannot be real. It was him in the flesh. And he's really tall. And like, so for those who remember, last year when I went to the Clive Davis party, he was there. And I saw him and he kind of like was just, it was very, tall. And, he just wasn't taking really any pictures with anybody. But this go around, he was at the bar, he was drinking, he was turned up. And he was with his crew. And I went up to him and I shook his hand. I said hi, I told him who I was. And, I've covered him over the years and things. And he was real nice, very nice, chill dude. We took a selfie. And then I want to say about 5 minutes later, he just dipped out. Like he dipped out with his whole entourage. He came with like a little group of people, like a little group. But It was dope. I was like, wow, like this really happened. And I had just saw the documentary on Max, which documentary was interesting, but it was just great to, meet the person, behind all of the chatter, especially lately, because his recent hit or his recent song, Jay Christ, has not really done that well in the charts. And I think, it's an interesting, he's going through that interesting phase as an artist. I mean, his first two albums were epic, major Grammy wins and nominations. But this third album, the rollout is a little bumpy. It's not the same as his controversial self, where he will have controversy and then that will spur into success. This seems a little different, but he seems to be, taking it all in and, making his appearances and doing his thing. So it was great to see him at that party. So then Friday was, it was chill in the first half and then it got spicier in the evening. So the first part of the day, I went to Melrose and had lunch with a good friend of mine, Michael Twitty, who wrote The Cooking Gene for those, or in Kosher Soul. He's a Black Jewish food extraordinaire. He can cook his ass off, but he also has written two great books. He wrote the book The Cooking Gene, which talks about the role of the Black food ways from slavery to modern day and the food cultures and the history that inspires them. We won a James Beard Award for his book, and it did really well. He wrote another book called Kosher Soul, which talks about his Jewish identity, his Blackness, and all those things that shape his understanding of food. And that book has been also very successful. And so on my journey through Eater, as you all know, he came to Philadelphia a couple months ago and we went to South and had dinner and it was pleasant. So we've kept up with each other and he's a really, really, really cool guy. So we had lunch in Melrose and just chatted it up. And it was funny because like LA is not, it's the West Coast, so it's not super, super cold here. But let me tell you, these people will wear leather jackets down, okay? They will wear the furs. They will wear like all of the heavy things just for a little bit of coolness. Like for Philly folks, you might wear a cardigan at best with this weather. This weather a little windy, but nothing heavy, right? These people are wearing tight sweaters. It's like they want an excuse to wear winter clothes. Cause I'm sitting here looking like, y'all, it's like 66 degrees, 67. And they're over here wearing turtlenecks and shit. It was interesting to me. I mean, they were like, oh my God, you thought it was frigid the way they were dressed. So that was one thing I definitely noticed about the West Coast for sure. But we caught up, and then quickly after that, I had to head to the LA Club. I think that's what it's called, the LA Club or something like that, or City Club or whatever. There was a party from the DC chapter of the Recording Academy. They throw their annual, music get together. And that, woo, oh my goodness. That party was lit. It was a day party, but it was lit. It was so fun. Oh my goodness. It was, what was going on at that party? It was go-go. It was a lot of go-go music, which I call no-no music, which my friend Amanda, Dr. Parks, she is a PG County girl, the DMV, Yeah, what's it, how she says it? DC, Maryland, Virginia. But she's from PG County, Pretty Girl County, as they would say. And they was playing this no-no, I call it no-no music, but they call it go-go music. But they had this Ashley Simpson, Pieces of Me, with this little mambo bumbo dram. But apparently they say that's a classic. They had the Adele. It's like, basically, it's like New Orleans bounce, but without the actual, like, artistic relevance. Well, I guess go-go has relevance. But, like, New Orleans bounce, it doesn't sound exactly like New Orleans bounce, but it's like there's a sound, and they put it on popular records. And New Orleans bounce does that. Like they'll take a song and they'll put the New Orleans bounce on it, but it'll be a regular song, but they mix it with the sound. And it's kind of funny because the original merit of the song gets lost in the sauce of the sound because they were doing it to Hello. And I'm like, I don't think Adele wanted people doing, the electric slide or the go-go dance to a song like Hello, it's hilarious. But black people, it's the culture. We're just hilarious. And so, it's an interesting sound, the go-go thing. But my favorite, and I know it's not necessarily go-go, but like the Doing the Butt song, like I guess it has that incorporation of go-go sound. Like that's a song. And that I got my dance on too. That's a song right there. So, But after that, John and I hit this really epic party. And this was the Grammys was this the gin party? Gin party. Yes, it was, because that's the night I wore florals. Okay, so that day I wore florals. Print. We left the DC day party and we headed over to the Grammys next generation party for the Grammys. This party was like one of the first epic parties, like epic parties. Like this is the parties where this was where the A-listers, this was when it was given VIP, Hollywood. This party was lit. Definitely one of my favorite experiences in Hollywood. It was immaculate. So first things first, we were VIP. We get there. We're on the red carpet. Getty Images, baby. Okay, that's all I have to say was Getty. Because let me tell you about Getty real quick. Getty Images, for those who don't know this, is like the ultimate like photography company. Because basically all media for any major event, number one, Getty is fucking in the building. Like if you have a legit event, Getty's there. Because Getty's there to collect the record. Like the record to know that this was the party. This is confirmation that bad bitch was in the room. Like Getty does not play. Like I get Getty with Getty. So Getty is awesome because the accuracy, right? So if you're on a red carpet, Getty Images, baby, they are the ones. And if you get Getty, that means that one, it's going to be on the internet. Like it's everywhere. Every media company, every group, anyone who wants photos, they have to purchase the photos. Like they need to purchase them. They're going to use them for a story or something. But those photos it aids the people from understanding the content. Like, let's say, for example, it's been a long day. I'm definitely going to sleep well on this plane. But let's say, for example, that, Rolling Stone or somebody cannot come to the awards and get their own photos, but they need to get some type of photo to help them for an image. They will go to Getty, they'll put in Grammys or whatever the award show is, they will find their photo or find the photo they want, and then they will use that photo to guide them for their story or whatever. But the big one is that the event has to be popping enough for Getty to come out. And then, there's a whole process. So this was like, I've walked red carpets, but this was like one of my first like major like red carpets I've walked on in a while. Because first off, it was organized. Second of all, the person there on the ground is writing your name down. They're walking you. They're telling you where to walk on the carpet. They're letting the photographers know what's your name, because that's how you can get your photos off of Getty. So like if there's an event, at the end of the event, if it's on Getty, you go and you look up pictures and you try to find your picture, because that is legit. That's the way that people know, oh, you that girl, and not everyone's going through the red carpet. So it was just dope opportunity to have that experience. It was really awesome. I can go on Getty Image, and it was funny. I found a picture with myself and Mr. Johnson, my husband, at an event years ago that I was at. I was at the National Magazine Awards, and I had won an award. I had won one of their awards for under 30. For magazine writers and content producers under 30. And I had won that award that night. And that was a real big deal. I was on the stage. It was awesome. It was one of my career achievements. Definitely a career, milestone. But we took pictures, and I didn't realize that it was in Getty. But I looked myself up in Getty Images, and that image of me and him came up. So I was like, wow. But that was like back in I turned 30 in 2021. The pandemic was in 2020. So that photo was like, oh my goodness. Ooh. That photo was, 2019 was the pandemic. So it wasn't the pandemic. It was like over 5 years ago. Oh wow. It was over five. Yeah, that event was like, I want to say back in 2019. So that's like 5 years ago. Wow, time flies. We having fun. Mm. Yeah, because I was like 27 when I won that. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, that was my first Getty photo. So that was, cool. But then the last time I had a Getty photo was like a month ago, when I went to the Visionary Awards. That was a part of Black Star Film Festival. And then this week for the Grammy weekend, I did 2 Getty images. I'll get to the other Getty image. But anyway, so did that. That took me. But then there was all these influencers, like these national influencers that were there, big names, TikTok people, all that. So there's a guy named Kwabi Lame who is black, and he has the most TikTok followers in the world. Like, he is the most followed person on TikTok. And I don't even be on TikTok like that, but I recognize his face. Tall, he's dark skinned. I think he's either African, like a French African or something like that. But he is, incredible. But he was there, nice guy. I took a selfie with him. He was really dope. There was a bunch of other people in that room, and I felt like I should know who they were, but I didn't know them because they were like young. They were like Gen Zers, but I didn't really know them. But I saw their faces. Like, I remember seeing their faces on social media, but I couldn't put a name to a face. But there were some legends there. So one of the people that were there was the actress who was the voice of in Moana, the Disney film. And she also was in a new Mean Girls film. And she was so nice. And we took a picture together. And she was super dope. And it was just cool. That event was so fun. I met a really cool guy named Brandon, who is this Latinx queer actor. He is going to be in the new J-Lo film as her like gay best friend in the film, which is hilarious. But he's in it, and we linked up, and he was super nice and super cool. And actually, we exchanged contacts, and it was like him and his boyfriend was there, and they were really nice. And so it was just nice to see people like that. That was really real. And then we saw each other at other events too that I'm going to get into, but it was really cool to see, just see people that just is dope. I bumped into people that recognized me. That was kind of fun. Like, people were like, "Are you Ernest? I see you on Twitter," like that kind of thing. And that felt good. Because I was like, I'm at the party. I don't really call myself an influencer. I consider myself a person of influence. But like, influencer title is like interesting in so many ways. But it was cool to see people that like recognize me and see me on Instagram or Twitter. That felt good. And I was like, wow. So, I guess I'm in the right room with all these influencers and the next generation. I guess I am the next gen. But it was a good vibe overall. It was so much fun. Now that was a real party for sure. After that, I went straight home. I went to the hotel, it's been my home for like 5 days. But it was cool to just see, just to get in this hotel and sleep. So I did a really good sleep. I slept for about 8 hours. And then I had to get up in the morning because it was Saturday. And Saturday was jam-packed. Like, I feel a little worn out now, but let me tell y'all something. Saturday wore me out. Wore me out. I kid you not. I was worn out, baby. It was the door was worn out. That day. So I'm there. It's a vibe. I'm enjoying everything while it's happening and soaking it all in. But Saturday morning I get up. I got to get up in the morning. It's a 9 a.m. brunch. Rolling Stone magazine had the Grammy, had an African nominee Grammys brunch, which was dope. And it was in Beverly Hills, which I love Beverly Hills. It was very fabulous. But I had to get up in the morning for that. So I went to bed, got good sleep, got up in the morning, and went to this incredible brunch. It was dope. It was dope to be in a room with Black people. It was a very African event, but I loved it. And let me just say that there's nothing like an African woman MC. Like, there's the vibe, the energy, the humor. I lived. I got my life. It was so good. And what was so cool about that brunch was that the Grammy the big deal was that for the first time in a long time, the Grammys created a brand new African music category, and it was I think it was best international African performance or something like that, which the winner was Tala for Water. That's that song everyone keeps playing. Make me water, make me lose my breath, make me water. Listen, first of all, they played that song so much this week. I heard that song between that and On My Mama by Victoria Monet, but that is a banger. But that Water song is a banger too. But like just hearing it, just they played it everywhere. I was like, whoever is campaigning, give this girl the Grammy. Please give her the Grammy. Because she was nominated in that category. She's very young. She's 22 years old. She's beautiful. But I was like, she's clearly going to win because they done played this song in every single space. And if it does not win in that category, I don't know who can beat her. But like, my goodness. So she was fabulous. And so she wasn't at the Grammys brunch, I don't recall. I don't think she was there. Not the Grammys, but yeah. Well, let me clarify. That was another Grammys brunch. But I don't think she was at the African nominees part, even though she's African. But it was other artists there, other producers, other people. The big name that I got to run into was Harvey Mason Jr., who was the CEO and president of the Recording Academy. Big damn deal. Brother, black dude. He's done music with everyone from Justin Bieber to Beyonce to, I mean, the list goes on. He has collaborated with everybody, every major artist in some type of way. A lot of the artists of our generation, mostly those in the early 2000s. He definitely made a moment. He made a mark there. So that was dope. But yeah, it was a great brunch. And then after that, we had to go to another brunch. So we get in, okay, we go once again, get ready again. We head out to another part of Beverly Hills, which is this incredible Grammy advocacy brunch. Now, this brunch I went to last year when it was I think her name was, it was Karen Marin or whatever I think her name is. But the last name was Marin. I remember that much. But she was an incredible country singer. And she did a great, Q&A, very nice and bubbly. This brunch was fancy. I mean, this brunch was really good this year. They had like really good like steak and eggs, but they had the real good gourmet steak and eggs. And I brunched out. But it was the Brothers Brothers Osborne was the country group, and one of the members that they're brothers, and they're a duo, but one of them of the people of the group is gay, and I was like, oh wow, and they're country music artists, but they were talking about the industry, lots of big stuff happening right now called Fix the Ticks, which is whole ticket scalping, scandal. Also talking about artists getting paid. Like a lot of people have issues with the streaming. Like, I mean, shout out to these companies that are pulling away from TikTok because TikTok and what they're doing is a lot, but I'm going to talk about that in the other episode. But back to the Grammys. That brunch was lit. So then after that, we did another go around. We hit the red carpet for GLAAD. GLAAD had a Pride collaboration with the Grammys where they had a Pride event, but it was really, now that event was dope. There was a lot of Black LGBTQ folks that were there. Shout out to Tre'vell Anderson. They were there. Shout to so many personalities. Cher. Mona Scott Young was there. Okay, the legendary Mona Scott Young. Okay, we're talking love and hip hop. Okay, creator. She was there. There was so many other people. Oh, Preston Mitchum, who I know very well. He was there. We got to finally meet Preston Mitchum. If you all remember that name, he was in my book, The Case for Cancel Culture. I interviewed him for the book, and we had never met in person. But it was always like, we would like be somewhere, and he would be somewhere, but we would never get a chance to meet. So it was so great to finally meet the person that was literally interviewed in my book. So Preston Mitchum is incredible. He's on the show. For those who watch, he's that Preston that's on Martha's Vineyard Summer House. That Preston. Who I knew before that show. But he's known on on that show on Bravo that's getting a lot of great news and buzz. So yeah, he was there. A lot of other musicians, artists, personalities were all there. But again, great. I made it on the red carpet, got me a Getty image. They had a red carpet event for that. Made it on there on the red carpet. Getty images, shout out. So I had a blast, but the night was not over. It was not over. It wasn't. Nope, there is another party, the Grammy Jammy Jam, which is this event that is an independent party that's thrown every year. But this year they honored the legendary Kevin Prodigy. And the event was hosted by none other than T.S. Madison. So I had to go see my girl Maddie, which, we have this, I have her number. We text from time to time, but she got us into this party. We made it in, and Kevin Prodigy was being honored, and he did his thing. Okay. The king of a good ballroom MC. Like, that is him. Okay. Anyone who's ever listened to legendary Black queer, ballroom, this is a legend. Okay. No one does it like the legendary Kevin Prodigy. So he was getting honored. We were only there quickly because it was packed in there. I got a picture with T.S. Madison. She was dope. But I had to bounce because I did not want to miss the Clive Davis party. So let me talk about this Clive Davis party. First of all, this is my second time going. It is not for the meek. That is the party. Okay. Honestly, the Grammys as an award show is just fun. It's just fun to watch it. I didn't meet any celebrities in person at the Grammys because the way that they are, the security and the publicists and everybody be cutting up, you ain't getting on that floor. You ain't touching Beyonce. It ain't happening. And it's so funny because people will message me be like, oh, have you seen Beyonce's concert? I'm like, child, I'm not seeing Beyonce. I take a lot of pride and confidence in my abilities. But then there's those moments where you just know that ain't happening. But then there's always those interesting moments where the unexpected happens, where something you don't expect happens. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. How the fuck did that happen? I had one of those moments. Actually, two of those moments at the Clive Davis party this year. And some of y'all have been following on my social media, so you already know what I'm going to talk about. But I want to see, this is what podcasts are for. They're the opportunity to really dive in and put things into words that a caption doesn't encapsulate. But let's talk about it. So I love the Clive Davis party because the celebrities, I feel like they let loose. That is a party where you can catch some bodies, you can take pictures, you can, they're it's still it's a little pushy because they got security though, but it's a little bit more free flowing. You can catch some bodies, and I caught bodies this year. Last year I did a really good job. I got some major photos last year, but this year I definitely did some Hall of Fame. I definitely did, but the thing is, you don't want to be, it's such an interesting phenomenon because it's at the Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel, which is just iconic anyway. The Golden Globes is there. The more tragically, late great Whitney Houston passed away. She was found dead in one of the hotels. And so there's this eerie vibe at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. I'm not going to hold you. I often forget that, the way that it's there's this overcast, this dark shadowish to it. It feels like it's it doesn't feel like people would stay in the hotel to actually stay overnight. It feels like only a space for events and venues. But nonetheless, so I see Paris Hilton again. I saw Paris last year, but she was also at the Grammys. She at the Clive after party. Which makes sense because the Hilton is in her name. So it's what would the Beverly Hilton look like without the Paris Hilton? And her family, I think some of her family was there too. But Paris was fabulous as always. So nice. Loves her fans. She is somebody who loves the fans, but also is almost like an American princess. She just, she gets it. She gets it. She takes her pictures. She, signs, autographs. She just knows. Like, she's so used to it. She's a pro at it. And like, yeah, no one beats Paris when it comes to that embrace of celebrity in a way that's just fascinating. She's so nice. Such a nice person. So it was a pleasure to see her again, take a picture with her again. But Mariah Carey was walking. They was escorting Mariah. And I saw her, and she smelled like heaven. I've never been to heaven, but if heaven ever had a smell, I'm sure it's Mariah Carey. She smelled good. She looked good. And, I just was like, hey, oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. Can we take a picture? And she just kind of was, making her way, and we did it. She just took it. She wasn't even, she wasn't even diva, like, no, and, all that. She was just like, damn. And my hands were trembling, y'all. And my hands don't tremble. They don't. But they did for her. And I don't regret it. And at first I was a little like, oh, this picture is not the best picture. Should I post? But I was like, no. Like, it's fucking Mariah Carey. Like, first of all, I don't even know. Like, listen, the fact that I was able to stand on my 2 feet, because they don't make legends like that anymore. I'm sorry. Like, we don't have anyone like that. Like that. Where you're equally as talented as the acclaim that you have. It's just not. We don't have that. We just don't have it. And Mariah is like a global phenomenon. Like, she is a legend. Like, it's Mariah fucking Carey. Like, what? Like, at all time. Like, I never in a million years thought I would see Mariah Carey. And like go up to her and like to take a picture with her. Like, what? Like, that, definitely a moment. Like, a moment. I just can't say enough. So then, of course, like 3 minutes later, here comes Cher. And again, hands are trembling because it's fucking Cher. It's Cher. It's Cher. Like, listen, my gay genes, all of me was losing it. So then after Cher, who's next? Kylie Minogue. If you're gay and you're listening to this podcast, you understand that the trifecta of my 90s, early 2000s, understanding, my peak gay awakening, was due in part to Kylie Minogue, Madonna, Cher, Mariah. And of course, Madonna wasn't there, but like, are you kidding me? Like, this is, yeah, it was like, and oh my God, Kylie Minogue won a Grammy for Padam Padam, which is an incredible song. She in a new category, I believe, too. And she won a Grammy. Long overdue. We've been rooting for Kylie Minogue for a long time. And now she's finally won. Because Can't Get You Out of My Head was iconic. She's still, Get Out of My Way is iconic. Like, she's just, I went to her and I got to talk to her a little bit. Kylie Minogue was everything. And Cher was everything. Like, Cher was just, the fact that Cher is just out here, just still living her best life is just everything. But no, Cher was glamorous. Cher was perfection. She was wonderful. Yeah, that just took the cake. So then Dua Lipa and Mark Ronson, I saw Mark Ronson, who is like just an incredible Brit. He was so cool. Took a selfie. Road show guy. Real nice guy. Dua Lipa. Oh my God. She is so fun and so friendly and so nice and just so dope. And she killed her performance at the VMAs, at the Grammys. I love her. But no, Dua Lipa was so friendly, very polite woman, very class act. Live for her. I saw Niecy Nash, Emmy Award winner Niecy Nash, with her lovely partner. They were just, her wife, they were just like so glammed up and just looked good and dressed good. They were cool. I saw a bunch of people. Trying to remember everybody before I get to the two people that just took it from me. Julie from Ozark, Ruth. I guess they know her as Ruth. But she was Julie Garner, I think her name is Julie Garner. She's won a lot of Emmys. That I remember. She won a lot of Emmys for her performance in Ozark. But she is stunning. Sweet lady, very nice, wonderful woman, wonderful actress. She was dope. She was there. It's always great to just when you catch an A-list actor or actress because they barely go to these things, but like when they do, they don't really talk to people or they don't take pictures. But she was super dope. She was dope for sure. Trying to remember everybody before I tell the stories. Gayle King was there, but I already took a picture with Gayle, so I was like trying to bug her. But like everyone was all up on Gayle. And one of the things that annoyed me is like everyone always asks about Oprah to Gayle, and I think that's like the rudest thing ever. Like Gayle has achieved a lot in her career, and people was like, "Oh, how's Oprah?" Da da da. I'm just like, I just wonder what it'd be like to just like have a friend and somebody just, tell you, how they feel. That was just a moment for me. Just in all sense of the word, like just all of the personalities, all of the, all the things. Yeah. So anyway, I digress. So I saw Mark Ronson, Kylie Minogue. I saw Troye Sivan. I saw, he's a great, singer. Andra Day, she was there. She was so sweet. Yolanda Adams, I got to meet, and she's an incredible gospel singer and a legend also. I saw Serena Williams. I got a picture with Serena Williams. That was cool. She was on her way to her car, to her ride. But before she left, but she was such a ball of energy and light, and super cool and super sweet. Yeah, Serena was dope. That was a cool picture. Like to be able to say I saw Serena. But my two people that just really got me. Coco Jones, who's now Grammy Award winner, Coco Jones. I See You won a Grammy. She was there. She was just fabulous. What was cool about her was she was wearing this really nice outfit to the Clive Davis party. And I saw her, and then she changed her clothes, but was still nice. She took pictures. She was really nice, but she had to run. I think she was trying to get ready for rehearsals or go to sleep or just chill, because that's what I would have done if I was in her shoes, which I ain't mad at her because, it was lively. But she was just fabulous. She was just the nicest, sweet woman. And I've always been a fan of Coco. Just her acting in Bel Air alone, and to see her now a Grammy Award-winning artist, is just like, wow, that happened. So no, she was definitely cool. So the person I'm saving is Victoria Monet. Oh my goodness. I just can't. Just tonight, just everything with her was just great. So she performed on My Mama which I'm a little annoyed. I wish she got to perform at the Grammy show. I wish she got to perform at the actual Grammy show. But she didn't. But she performed at the Clive Davis show. And she had the outfit on and then the hat and the swag. The performance was just, she's just committed to her craft in a way that is just inspiring. So when she was done with the performance, she goes out to the lobby. I'm at the lobby area at this point. And I see her and I kind of give her like a little wave. And I don't want to like blow up her spot and say, oh my God, Victoria Monet's out here. I just kind of was like, gave a little wave. So then security comes over about a minute later and they're like, she's asking for you to come over. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm being summoned. So I go over to her and I have my moment and I'm just like telling her how much of a fan I am about her. And anybody who listened to my podcast over the years, you all know that when there's conversations about Ariana Grande and, just everyone talking about like how she got that sound, this and third, y'all, that was Victoria Monet. She wrote those songs. I think she probably did some demo tracks, but her whole aesthetic, like Ariana Grande, when Ariana Grande was in her, what I call black era, not so much now. She's actually staying in her lane, doing some, cute little ballroom bops for what it's worth. But Victoria Monet has been putting in this work for a long time. And a person like her, when you meet her, you just feel like before she blew up. But like if I would have met her before then, like just seeing her hustle, the EPs she was doing, I call them mixtapes, but all of that work, she was just committed and just kept pushing through in spite of all of the bullshit. And so I just let her know, like as a true fan, that like I see her, and I was like, you're somebody who has, even when you thought you made it, there's always those reminders. And so in her career, she's always had that moment where it's like, okay, this should be it. But then there would be these barriers. Like even like recently, MTV, had the VMAs, the Video Music Awards, and they told her that she was not ready. Like as if she had to prove herself to perform on that stage. I bet you right now they're eating crow, given all the success that she's had since. I know they're over there feeling some type of way. I just know it. But, what can I say? This is what happens when you just focus on your craft. You just focus on the work and not get so caught up with all these distractions. And, I can relate to that. And I felt that. And I shared her my thoughts, and I told her I was rooting for her. And deep down in my soul, I just felt like she was going to win Best New Artist. Like, I know there was a lot of energy towards Ice Spice, and people say, oh, Ice Spice or some country artist. But something in me just felt like she had that kind of coolness and swagger that can just bring anybody, just gravitates anyone that's a fan to vote for her for a category, like across it. Because even when I was at the Grammys, whenever that's on My Mama would come on, everybody in that room was singing and then vibing to it. Like, that is a hit. That is a record, y'all. That's a record. But yeah, this is long overdue, and she felt that, and so I felt that, and I was just touched. So yeah, Victoria was just nothing but the absolute best, and she was a sweetheart. Yeah. After that party, I went straight to bed because I had a big Sunday ahead of me, and that Sunday was called the Grammys. So Sunday, was, the big day. I got up around, I woke up around probably 10 a.m. and got dressed, and I headed out the door around noon. I would say. I think we head out around noon because everything is done earlier, because the Grammys comes on at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So that means that's 5 p.m. our time, or I guess I would say California time. So for those who live in Philly on the East Coast, it would be 8 p.m., which 3 hours back would be 5 p.m. So the whole time everyone's watching the Grammy super late, it's super early in Cali. And so 5 o'clock p.m., the Grammys is on TV in Cali. But the catch is that there's a whole pre-show before, the Grammys. So there's like when people are watching and they're hearing that people are already winning Grammys and things before the telecast, that's because that's the part of what is considered the Grammys pre-show kind of thing. And the pre-show is basically the majority of the awards. Like the majority of the awards, the people with the most of the categories, like classical music and narrative audio recording and all of these random categories, or even like more obscure categories, like all the bulk of the awards isn't actually going on throughout the actual traditional award show. Like the award show really puts on the more, it tries to give you a taste of all the major genres. Sometimes not. But it'll be like, for example, they, Carol G won on TV. It was like the urban musica album category. So they guaranteed had a Latino artist win on television. Or they'll have different categories that people will say is that a category to guarantee that there's a diversity of artists winning. Some will try to predict that. Like, for example, People mentioned, well, the electronic dance album Grammy, they put the category last year. Why? Well, because they knew Beyonce was going to win, or well, I wouldn't say they knew she was going to win, but there was a strong likelihood that she was going to win in that category. So there was a level of, um, there was a guaranteedness that, okay, we'll have an award show where we'll have balance. We'll have different types of artists winning awards. It won't feel like it's just one person sweeping. But in some cases, if you're Michael Jackson during your Thriller era, that was a sweep. Or Alicia Keys, like the era of, artists winning 5 or more Grammys in one night and watching, a telecast where that's happening in real time. I think the last artist to really do that was Billie Eilish when she won 5 Grammys. And then I remember Adele did it, did the same thing with 21, I believe. She won like 6 Grammys in one night. And that was like a huge, most of the Grammys she had won were televised because they were in the general categories, kind of like the same with Billie Eilish. So it felt like a real sweep. But since then, there hasn't really been any major televised sweep since. But I do believe the Recording Academy tries to get everyone to have their moment of shine, quote unquote, if they can, a big star. So they put certain categories, I feel like, they feel like they can predict the best they can. Album of the year is just, at this point, you can predict that it's anyone that's not black or a black woman. Even in a year where a black woman can get the most nominations, like SZA did with 9, but I digress. So the show this year, it was a lot of rain. It was a lot of rain outside, so it was a heavy rain. So we did not go to the red carpet for the show because so much of it was a priority on like the top talents, the VIP and nominated artists, because that carpet was all covered because of the rain. So it was like it was like tinted, and it was very harder compared to the previous year. So we ended up going to the pre-show and then was able to take pictures on location, which basically it was in a whole different part of the arena and, with its own razzle dazzle and everything like that. So the show was good. The pre-show I enjoyed because one, there's a lot of diverse artists that get, nominated. And so you get to see the categories and you get to see all the big ones, all the gospel categories where they didn't have a spotlight, the Grammys, all of the major R&B categories, where Victoria Monet, Coco Jones, all of them had a moment. Who else? Uh, who else did? Like the rap category was very interesting this year for a bunch of unexpected reasons. So for starters, with the exception of Best Melodic Rap Performance by Little Durk featuring 21 Savage, or was it 21 Savage? Oh, it was J. Cole. They won a Grammy, the two of them, Lil Durk and J. Cole, for their song they did together. But outside of that, Killer Mike, the rapper, swept. Like, he won Best Rap Album, Best Rap Song. There was another Grammy, I think he won like some type of performance, Best Rap Performance or something like that. But he swept. And it was a shocker to people because some people, was under assumption that perhaps Barbie World, which is, Nicki Minaj featuring Ice Spice, was going to win a Grammy because of how popular it was. But voters didn't care. Voters didn't care about the massiveness of Barbie in this regard. They really was just like, are the bars barring? Is the lyrics there? Is the art there? And so there were so many people who were shocked. But there was one big major, I don't know if I was called a scandal, but it kind of felt like it, was that even though Barbie World did not win, on the social medias, there was some random post that the Recording Academy, an official Recording Academy Twitter account, like this is big, there was a scheduling that suggested that um, I guess Nicki and Ice Spice won. But the thing about it was, whoever did that Twitter account, I think it was more of the glitch on their end versus actual like fact. So, for example, like with award shows like this, they don't really, the Recording Academy as a collective do not know who win. They have an actual firm. So some, for example, the Oscars will have like Ernest and Young, but there's various firms, and they would do all of the voting tabulation, all of those things, and then they would also, get the results, create an envelope, have each honoree, it's all sealed. No one knows in advance. You can't get the award in advance. Like none of that is happening. Everybody in the industry is waiting to get the final results and find out who won. And so it's nerve wracking to say the least. But I will say that when those envelopes were open, there was no confusion who won the awards. And so while people were playing games on Twitter, whatever the case was going on, anyone who was in that audience, including myself, who was there, I was fortunate enough to be front row. We heard it, and yeah, that wasn't the case. And so I always tell people it's the envelope and it's the legit. Like that's why these award shows don't just have random parties for themselves. Sometimes they do, but most of the time it's a major industry party, so there's a different type of standards. But it was, Twitter, of course, the barbs were all like, thinking she was robbed and this, that, and the third. But I don't think even a rap category would even, dismiss it. So Killer Mike swept with 3 Grammys in his own right, and was supposed to have felt like a really good win and a good victory lap. It went short because right after that, Killer Mike is arrested at the Grammys. Like not inside of the Grammys. Well, he's in the same building, but he was getting arrested for a misdemeanor charge apparently. From what I hear, it did not have to do with the awards, but there was also some rummagings about a possible security guard issue, like security issue, altercation or something with the security guard. But what we know for a fact and what has been confirmed so far was that there was an arrest. And there are people who it was done in a very public manner. Like they were getting escorted out of the actual building itself, but it was just it was dramatic for sure. So one of the things that was really major to watch was one, Coco Jones winning for ICU, which was like best R&B performance. Victoria Monet winning best R&B album. SZA had won a some type of Grammy at that point. This was all of the ones that were not running on TV. But it was just good to be in the room to see and witness them, even though they didn't go up and accept the awards themselves. Even First Lady Michelle Obama had won her second Grammy for audiobook narration for her last book. But, she was taking time to rest, and I guess she didn't go up and accept the award in person. But, it was interesting to say the least. And she was going against Bernie Sanders as well, Senator Bernie Sanders. And who else was in there? Meryl Streep and William Faulkner and all these major names. So I was always wondering like how it was going to play out. But fortunately, the Queen, Meryl Streep was at the Grammys. Others, not so much. But, nonetheless, it was a good time. So then there was the live telecast, which I made it to in person, and it was a show. Like before I get into some of the major highlights, I want to start off by saying that it was overall the show was highly entertaining. Lots of legendary performances, lots of memories, lots of major appearances and moments. It was definitely one of the best Grammys in a long time. Like the caliber of the artists that showed up actually got honored. Just the overall energy, and it just felt like the production And the show just really did a good job of just going up on time and staying at their mark and just doing their thing. So that was really good. The winners were stretched out more, I would say. Everyone seemed to get them a Grammy. We can debate about who should have won which Grammy, but that was also a positive plus for me. I'm trying to think before I get into it all. Yeah, I think they just did a good job as far as overall production and the quality of the production and just the vibe. Everything about that felt good. So I'll give them credit for that. It was definitely an upgrade as a show compared to last year. That I will say easily. But now the show itself. So Tracy Chapman performing Fast Car with Luke Combs, I believe his name is, the country singer, was definitely a highlight. And I went viral for it, but it was a big moment. Like, a lot of people don't understand. Tracy Chapman is a Black queer woman and a musician who's been out. And, her story, of her experiences and the things she battled to get to that point is inspirational. And to see everyone giving her a standing ovation and just clapping for her and giving her roses for being the true source inspiration behind that song that is now being rocked on Tell Far Large. I mean, it's a great bag and I love it. And, it was definitely a memory for sure. Who else? Big wins. Miley Cyrus is finally a Grammy Award winning artist. That was definitely a highlight. I didn't see it coming because I just thought, like so many of you all, that was going to be Taylor Swift dominance. But that was really refreshing. That like for a moment, everyone kind of was like, I don't know about this album in a year because it's, the other categories are being won, in the same way that, some people would anticipate, the major artists. Like I know there were times like R&B categories where Beyonce was sweeping, everybody just would be shocked that there'll be another artist that would slide in at that time. And so that's what I think was happening with Taylor Swift specifically. Like people was expecting her to just get everything under the sun. But when she lost, the pop sung category, pop vocal performance to, Flowers, I felt like that was a red flag to me that like, this is not going to be a huge night where it's going to be a huge sweep from her. So that was taking me. Other things that happened for sure. I mean, Billie Eilish, like never, ever, I tell people all the time, do not sleep on Billie Eilish. Like, when you think you can predict, but Billie Eilish just does it and does it again. Like everyone just kind of accepts that slayage from her. But the What Was I Made For from the Barbie soundtrack is just top tier. And so she was there at the Grammys itself. But it was just a wonder to see some of the big surprises. So she won, of course, Song of the Year, which is I think this is her second time winning. She previously won for Bad Guy when she did that major general sweep with her brother Phineas, who's incredible. But I would think it's safe to say she's going to win the Academy Award again for this. This song is just rich and, the performance is on fire and you could hear a pin needle drop. That's how quiet it was. Yeah. Yeah. Her performance was just like, it just tugs at your emotions. It's just like, so good. Other notable performances. Joni Mitchell, 80-year-old Joni Mitchell, icon. Joni Mitchell performed at the Grammys. Billy Joel performed, which is his big major performance, like 35 years, but he's back at it again. That was huge. Then there were like some performances that were just like, what is this? Which wasn't that many, but Travis Scott's performance, for example, I watched that and I was like, I feel like my younger brother is into like, the rap, the current rap game. And I listened to some of it, of course, but I was like, what is this? Who was this? And I mean, I knew Travis Scott was, but the deep fandom that his fans have for him, I realized that when, I saw my brother go to the show. And also he was, messaging me while the Grammys was on and just hyping things like that. So, I mean, I guess, but he didn't make any wins. I think a lot of people thought he was going to win Album of the Year, but he lost to Killer Mike. So that was a big shocker. But outside of that, he kind of, I think, was just happy he was performing on Grammy stage and not having to deal with any major scandals like what happened with Astroworld. Other performances, there was an African performance, Afrobeats performance that featured Brandy and had 21 Savage and Burna Boy, and these are some hits. But that performance to me was just too short. It felt like it was only like maybe 2 minutes at most, but it just seemed like they kind of it was on stage and it kind of went right off the stage. So that was kind of a bummer. I mean, Trevor Noah was the MC and the host, and this year his jokes was really funny. And they definitely landed, I would say. I don't know if people peeped all of the jokes, but the references were really on point. So Record of the Year went to Miley Cyrus. And I think this is when things got interesting. Well, there was a couple of signs but when Miley Cyrus won Record of the Year for Flowers, it was very telling. It was a moment where it was like, wow, this feels like, highway robbery. Because like Record of the Year, you never know where it's going to go. And I was like, maybe it's going to go to Billie Eilish. Maybe it's going to go there. But Billie Eilish won for Song, because Song of the Year is focused on lyrics. Record of the Year is like the overall song, the performance of the artist, the sound, the mixing, all of those things. But the whole overall package is what Record of the Year means. So when Miley Cyrus won for Flowers, I was like, okay. I mean, it was a hit. It was a big hit. I mean, it's infectious. It's really a timeless song. I feel like we'll be playing that song on a commercial in 5 years or something like that. Like, it has that kind of star power. And I feel like the Grammys, when it comes to those types of those memorable songs, I feel like she's the type of artist, Miley is and others, that they will try to produce, those timeless hits. Like, I know Bruno Mars makes arguably timeless hits. And I was thinking about Record of the Year, like who in that crowd had the type of song that can stand the test of time. And there was others, of course, Kill Bill, things like, people like that, things like that. But this was different. I felt like this was very, very like one of those, like everyone was pleasantly relieved. It was almost like a shocker, in the room. People did not expect that to happen. There was a couple of experiences like that, like Victoria Monet winning Best New Artist was in person. I mean, to see that room go up for her like that, like it was a football game, it was wild. And I was hearing for a minute that she was going to be the front runner. Was going to be the winner, but you just never know until the show happens itself. There was another, so I'm just going through all of the things the highlights. Jay-Z's speech, which then brings me to my next point. But so it was interesting. Oh, Fantasia. How can I forget? Fantasia was incredible. The Tina Turner tribute, I think some people were just like, where's Beyonce? Where's Beyonce? Y'all got to remember, Beyonce at this point, I doubt she's ever given the Grammys a major performance. I think she's at a point in her career, she's like, listen, I have nothing to prove. And that means I'm not going to play these award show games. I'm not doing any of it. Because, to be quite honest, she doesn't even need it for the opportunities that's being alleged to be given. But why, but Fantasia performed and Oprah opened up, introduced Fantasia. And then, of course, there was the performance, which was good. I mean, it was, Fantasia has a certain, vocals and performance. And I think people wanted more dancing. It was all the comparisons. But I just feel like it's different. It's different. Like, Fantasia was really focused on the vocal performances of Tina's hits. Rolling, Proud Mary was the classic. And she did a little bit of dancing or whatever. But I think it was more of a vocal tribute. And I could appreciate that compared to the everything not Taylor Swift, everything Beyonce does, there's always this expectation. I think, like Beyonce's, in her 40s, she's lived her career. She doesn't have to, come to shows and do all of that. So I respected that. But she made an appearance in what I called a I don't give a fuck outfit. She wore her, this cowgirl hat. She had this outfit on that was very Western. People on the internet were all anticipating, like, is this a sign of Act Two? Like, you didn't know what to expect. But they were there because Jay-Z won the Dr. Dre award, like the record, like some type of, I think it's like a Global Impact Award or something. There was some special Grammy that was presented, and he went up there and he, gives his speech, and he, everyone's hyped for him and everything. But he basically takes that moment to talk about how these awards are, in many ways messed up, like their metrics of how the Recording Academy, keeps missing on these really great Black artists over the years, and how, look, Beyonce does all of the things that's required in this, but yet still she's not getting album of the year. And it was the thoughts a lot of people have thought about who wins. And he said some people shouldn't be in a certain category. Some people this. I was like, you better go off. I mean, Jay-Z just really let the chop out. And I was in that room and you could hear the gasp of people that was like, whoa. And there was a sense of uncomfort, some discomfort from some people seated for sure. But overall, unapologetic. He said a thing. He said what it needed to be said. There was no confusion at all. That during that time, yeah. That was one of those speeches is going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. An interesting fact that he did the announcement that night, and it kind of foreshadowed a little bit about the energies. So let's get into the artists that really disappointed me. Taylor Swift. I just, I don't, I've dabbled in Swiftism and being a Swiftie and all these things, but I think it just, this Grammys just it was not a good look for her. I think that it was one of those award show experiences that were just that more people were talking about the way that she went about what she was doing versus the news itself. So when she won Best Pop Vocal Album for Midnights, she was very like, I don't know, just felt very calculating. It was like, she gets up, everyone's like clapping, whatever. And she then plugs her album. Her new album's coming out April 19th. And it's this whole thing. And I just remember there were people that were in the crowd, the seats that I was nearby, and they were just kind of like, they were happy for her, but they kind of felt like it was a little tacky. Like, why would you do that in the middle of the show? And of course, the internet went wild because then everybody on every major publication is dropping the deadline date and the name of the album, and it's just the room just sucks the attention out of the moment. And it was just kind of also like, you have a platform where you could have announced it at the Super Bowl. If Travis Kelce, her boyfriend, would have won, she could have, dropped it that night. Or she could have just, waited for another date. But just to do it on the stage, it just seemed like it was like a forced moment. And I kind of was like, I felt like it was a little cheesy. And she's done this before. She announced Midnights at the VMAs. So I wasn't too surprised by that. But I mean, it's one thing to do something like that at the VMAs versus doing it at the Grammys of all places. So, and I was like, kind of like, another album? Like, I don't know. Like, the fans were like, okay, Reputation, Taylor's version's coming. Like, we were all prepared for that. And then there was like this weird loop about a brand new album and song title and all that. I was like, wow, this is happening. So that was strike one for me. But then strike two comes right at the end. So we're all, SZA has gotten up and received an award. Taylor had, all the, Miley Cyrus did. So at this point, there was some major wins, some surprises. Billie Eilish as well. There were some surprises. So everyone's sitting there wondering, like, okay, what's next? Like, how is this going to play out? And Album of the Year was like the nail biter. And I'm thinking, okay, who's gonna, how what's gonna happen? Like, I was thinking maybe there's a shot, like maybe SZA could win this because she's the most nominated artist. Taylor wasn't really winning any, major general category awards, which she's never had. She's never won Song of the Year. She's never won Record of the Year. She never won Best New Artist. She kind of never wins in that general thing. But Album of the Year is always her big one. So when they called Taylor Swift's name, you could feel the room because everyone the whole evening kept, was whispering SZA, SZA. And if you listen to my video when I recorded before they announced the winner, everyone's like SZA, SZA. But also interesting enough, the big shocker of that whole category wasn't even the winner. It was the announcer, Celine Dion, who, as you all know or don't know, but she had, she's dealing with a health crisis, related to cancer, and it's really sad. And there was, she's kind of has hinted that she can't really perform, live on the stage and things. So no one was expecting Celine Dion, who has previously won the Grammy for Album of the Year for, I think the album was called Into You, that came out in the 90s, an iconic album, a big deal, a pioneering album. Like Celine Dion is one of the few major women who has won Album of the Year for producing arguably mainstream music, So, it was just like a big deal. Like everyone in that room was like emotional. Everyone in that room had tears coming down their eyes, including myself. I mean, we were just first of all shocked that she came out, but the fact that she would even announce and speak, I mean, it was just a moment. Like it was a moment. And so when Album of the Year gets named and Taylor Swift is announced, there's this weirdness in the room where everyone's kind of like, oh, again. And it really, again, because she just made history as the most Album of the Year wins at 4. She has surpassed Frank Sinatra and Stevie Wonder to have the most Album of the Year wins, 4 of them, And so, with that victory, you're thinking, okay, when she get up there, she's going to hug Celine. She's going to, it's going to be a moment. And she gets up there, she hugs her team, and, she just gets the trophy from Celine and just, gives this very flat ass speech that just kind of felt missed. And I'm just kind of like, okay. And it's the same performative, white girl, pretending to be shocked and all, I just think, again, I get it that there's artists that, deserves and whatnot. But I also do agree with Jay-Z that there's like artists who just are like, and listen, I have a profound respect for Taylor Swift's hustle. I mean, you can't take away her ability to sell tickets. She's the queen of capitalism at this point. She can sell a concert ticket. She can sell whatever, anything with her name on it. She's going to be able to make some huge money. She's a billionaire off of this, So she's, I'll never take that from her. But I do feel like there is a sense of entitlement, tone deafness that's just starting to get a little hard to ignore. And in certain ways, it just came across tonight. Like you're just listening, while people like Victoria Monet is giving these really heart-spoken, deep speeches, Taylor Swift is just kind of, it just feels very scripted. It just feels very like, it's just robotic. I don't know. It just, the whole energy was just off. And, after the win, the awards automatically go off because the East Coast is ready to go to bed. And for us, the party just begun. But I remember leaving the arena before the after parties, which was right across the street. And I was just remembering being like, everyone that was there was just kind of like, I guess. I mean, Midnights as an album, like as a fan, listen, I enjoyed Midnights. It was cool, but it definitely wasn't an Album of the Year winner. Like Folklore, when she won for Folklore and she won her third, Grammy for Album of the Year, I can understand Folklore. I can understand, to a certain extent, 1989, even though I felt like that should have been the year Kendrick Lamar won. So I'm kind of like, on that album. I mean, if you knew what she was going to win later, It makes sense. I feel like she should have won for Red. I feel like she should have won for Folklore. It was a very great album. I mean, that's my favorite like Taylor Swift record. But some of these other things, it's just at some point the over exposure, I think, is what has gotten me kind of like, with her lately. It's just like the overexposure, the over awards, the oversaturation and everything that comes with it. I think that's what I think a lot of art people are feeling with her. It's like, it's not like people hate Taylor Swift. I mean, there's some people that do, but I don't hate her. But I do feel like, she is someone who just gets more of a lion's den. Like, how in the world does someone like Taylor Swift gets 4 album in the year Grammys, but you have all of these incredible black and brown artists that just make, in my opinion, arguably better music, but don't. And we know why, right? Because we know if you look at the Recording Academy, the age demographic, also the lack of diversity racially, it's obvious what kind of albums win, and it just becomes so predictable that it's not even, it's fun. Because even people are making the joke, they're like, look, she's got this new album coming out April 19th, which will qualify for the Grammys for next year. It's almost like what's going to happen, even the inevitable. Like, you can't stop the commercial wave, because Taylor Swift winning means ratings, means press, means all of the things the Grammys, I think, that struggles with a little bit sometimes. And so I think it means something for her to win for the capitalistic purposes involved compared to the artistry. And I feel like at this point, it's the oversaturation from the football games to person of the year, which is kind of like, okay, I guess. But at this point, it's just too much. And I as a fave of hers, like, I really do, I do enjoy Taylor Swift, but I do feel like what I'm concerned about as a fan is like, look, you're gonna get to a point where the tide is going to shift and people are going to have fatigue. And I think that is what's happening. I think a lot of people are getting like Taylor Swift fatigue outside the little Swifties. But that's what it was feeling like in the industry. But then again, a lot of them did vote for her. So she did win. But it's just, at some point, it's like, I don't know. It's becoming a lot. And that was the one, that was a moment, like a bummer moment to a certain degree. So afterwards, the after parties happened. I went to the official Grammys after party, which was dope. Neo performed. I will leave it at that. I didn't get a picture. I didn't want a picture. He was also the Clive Davis party the night before, but I was just like, he came in there. It was, what it was. Then Tyrese. But these are people that I just, I'm not rushing and running around, whether it's in a Target or wherever it's going to be, for certain celebrities like that. Because they're just, they're just too much, But afterwards, a little midway, actually. So this was my annoying thing. So my one bummer. So SZA, I was invited to this after party by TDE, Top Dog Entertainment, which also reps, or at one point in time repped Kendrick Lamar, but Kendrick is no longer signed with them. And there was a lot of people that was buzzing. But I got invited to this after party, and it was big, like, to get invited. But the mess of it all was that it was raining cats and dogs outside. It was cold. It was like cold rain. It was raining, pouring down. And the people that were in line waiting, it was raining, and people were out there for 2 hours. Okay, not for the official Grammy after party. Like, that party just happened. It was fabulous. It was lots of food. That went on without a hitch. But this party was another party that was in Hollywood that SZA's team put together. And that party, it was like a 2-hour long line, even though it was supposed to be this exclusive party and black tie. But they had people in the screeching, cold, ridiculous rain. And that pissed me off a little bit, because I was in that rain for literally 2 hours trying to go to this party. And at a certain point, I just was like, yeah, I'm not, it's too much rain. Everyone's up on each other. You have an umbrella. I think I had an umbrella, but it was just like, this is too much. And it was annoying because, you're thinking, there's going to be this exclusivity and everything. But in reality, it felt like everybody and their mother had got an invitation to that party. And so John and I were both waiting. I eventually just was like, I knew I had my flight. I knew I wanted to record this special edition podcast for my listeners. I was just like, I can't wait longer than 2 hours. And I would never wait that long in the party. I was like, this is ridiculous. And it was wild because it was in the rain. And it wasn't like everyone was going through. They were like holding up the line, like this long wait and trying to put people through a door. I shared that on my Twitter about this party. And like, that was just ridiculous. So we got there at 10. By 12 o'clock, I was like, this is too much. I need to head back. So midnight, I just head back. But because it was a long night, because you got to remember, I was already previously at I want to say around 8:30, the Grammys after party. And then I was there from 8:30 to 10 o'clock. So then from 10 to 12, I was in that line. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, it's not worth it. John told me he did not get into that party until I want to say 12:45 a.m. That's, his commitment, devotion. He was already there. He was good. I just could not. I just was like, look, SZA, listen, I'm going to fold him where I hold him, but I can't wait. But the crazy part is that him and someone else made it into the party, but everybody else was told, like the rest of the groups that was out there, oh, it's they're at capacity, the party was over, or they weren't taking any more people in. And I would have been pissed to be out there in the goddamn cold rain and all of those mind games. I just couldn't do it. But I say all that to say that overall, my Grammy experience weekend was a 10 across the board, really 15 over 10. Definitely some memories made. Definitely would come back and do it again. But also tempering my expectations about the Recording Academy, because at this point, I just don't have any faith in the Recording Academy when it comes to album of the year. Record of the year is always, up in the air, surprise. Lizzo made a comeback, like canceled where Lizzo was saying. And also, because I got to play my little plug because the girls are going to talk their shit. But it's interesting because people were like, I remember on the internet, like everyone was like, Swiftie fans were like, oh, well, how was she supposed to act? And then, of course, right after, she took a picture with Celine Dion. They hugged and took a picture, I think, backstage. And that went on the internet really quickly because I think there was people like, wait a minute, you literally did not acknowledge Celine. Like, you didn't do any of that. But outside of that aspect, Miley Cyrus winning the first Grammy night going to Miley Cyrus was presented by the legendary Mariah Carey. Miley won her first Grammy, and she's getting honored by none other than Mariah Carey. That was a moment, and she acknowledged it in a way that she gave her speech, but she understood the moment, understood how special that was. I feel like that was the thing. It's like, I don't know, you just have to be just really off-putting to just, like, not even like humanly acknowledge or recognize the impact of what that all meant. It's just privilege, man. It's privilege. But I definitely enjoyed my time at the Grammys. Definitely enjoyed it. Definitely do not need any new friends. When I mean in regards to when I get back to Philly and like, it's interesting with these award shows, and I'll share some of this with my friends, okay? Because some of this I ain't gonna put on the episode, but it's one of those things where you just see when you're having a moment, you're celebrating all of these people, some nice people, right, that do show love. But then there's people that like come out the woodwork that ain't talked to you and God knows how long, people you went to school with, you bump into, folks like that. And everyone's like, oh, hey, and da-da-da, and you're just kind of like, oh, so you know who I am now. Oh, now you want to be all up in the DMs, being like, oh, hey, bestie, hey, friend, rooting for you, proud of you, all that stuff. And like, listen, there's some genuine people that mean that. And I no shade, right? But there's some people I'm just like, wow, you don't ever say anything to me any other time. And it's just, and I know that's how people act. People, that's just normal. So I really can't be too stunned or too shocked. But when those things do happen, it is a moment where you just go, But overall, I came, I saw, I conquered, and it was definitely a Grammys to remember for sure. There's so many stories I have, but I'm not going to share them on this podcast. But definitely can't wait to, get back and chat with my friends and really get the tea. We'll spill the tea. But I'm definitely going to use Monday to rest and recuperate because it was a weekend to remember. Definitely gonna be recording the next episode, the full episode, not this special edition episode about the rest of everything, but I'm going to take some time to relax and to enjoy and to be on this plane and sleep and do my thing. But for those who did not think I was going to give you all a special edition episode, of course I am. And this is what it was. And this was the time. And as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.